Hi and welcome to part 20 of the Otter tutorial. In this session we're going to continue around here before we carry on up around the face area. Just get my reference photo ready. I'm just zooming in. Okay, so we're going to need to add some more layers around here and then get that so it's blended in there. But before we do actually move on there, we're gonna need to carry on around there as well. So let's just take a quick drink. And if you can hear a fan in the background, I've got to have it on today because it's just so warm in here. Right, and of course I've got my gloves on as well because my hands are hot and I don't really sort of want to smudge the surface of this, because we're getting we're over sort of 2/3 of the way through now, and yeah, I don't want to sort of ruin it. So we're gonna, which one are we going to use first? I'm going to use the 20% French grey Prisma. So we just want to carry on adding the layers there. Now I know this isn't all grey, so we're going to alternate it between that and the brownish beige, and also we're going to include some of the ivory or cream, whatever pencil that you have available. And you can see that I'm holding the pencil quite far up because we're doing light to medium pressure, and also that needs to sort of come over that way because it's arching over a bit, so that's a bit too flat. Let me just remove some of that layer there because we want to get, at the moment that's just looking too flat. So what we want to be doing is making sure that we've got the right angle to the cheekbone. So it's only a thin layer, that's it, and then it's coming. So we've got the eye bit, and then I'm just lightly sketching that in. That's it. And just make sure the layers are added in that angle too. There we go. And that gives us room to sort of build up that cheek area. So we're just basically building the lower layers with this colour. Going to come in with the this is the Pablo cream, but just use the whatever ivory or cream you've got in your pencil set. And this is just helping us with our layers. And like any area that we've worked on, we're closing out the tooth with our layers, and then we're going to add the finer details over the top. So I'm just going over the this part as well, because we'll go over that again because there's quite a bit of grain coming through there. And again through here as well. And I'm just using that light to medium pressure that we've added all the way through. So this part's going to look a bit flat at the moment, but we'll bring that detail in once we've got everything, all of our layers added. And we're going to add some more brown in around here. Okay, just going to go in with the brownish beige. So I'm not sharpening any of these at the moment until we're actually ready for the fine layers to go in, and what we'll do with that is we'll use the polychromos for those, because you can sharpen them to a fine point, and they're really great with the keeping their point and getting that detail in. They're also great for layering as well. So, you know, whatever you have in your pencil set will be absolutely fine. No need to sort of go out and buy extra materials unless you really want to. So we've just got that mark there. Where that whisker's coming up through there. So I just want to sort of try and keep that in. It's not going to be very wide. Let me just get the white Pablo in for a minute. We'll go over that at the end anyway, if we need to, which we will probably around there anyway, but I just want to sort of mark that in so that we don't lose it. Right, okay, brownish beige. So although this is really dark and it's actually really standing out on its own at the moment, what we want to do is sort of blend it so that it's not so you know, so that it actually sort of gradually sort of comes out in this area around here. And I just want to tone this bit down slightly. Still want to see that it's bright, but I want to tone that brightness down a bit. I do love these Pablos. So we just got to bring that down. That's sitting around there a bit. So the tooth on this part is actually almost, you know, filled in. I'm just going to use the cream again, or the ivory. So when I say cream, then just use ivory or cream, whatever you've got available. The cream in the polychromos can be a bit towards the yellowy side of things, so if you're using polychromos, then I would use the ivory. You're probably wondering why I'm not using the polychromos ivory, and I think because for me, I mean, they're the same sort of size, sort of lead to them, size core, but I just think this probably for me goes down a bit better, and I generally prefer the white as well in the Pablo. Right. But when it's, you know, I do tend to sort of interchange them and use both of them, so that's fine. Right, I'm just going to use a polychromos nougat, so just the lighter brown on the top here. Don't need to sort of add fine details in this part. We're just sort of coming in and adding different sort of tonal values there. So I am gonna just marking it out with this lighter brown, and then I'll go over the top with maybe, what we got here, possibly the burnt umber, I think, because the walnut brown's going to be a bit too dark for this part. So I'm just marking out this darker area as well. So you can see at the moment this bit, although it's got the tonal values there, it's looking a bit flat. So this is where we're going to be building everything up. And just getting that extra detail in. And these polychromos are great on top of other brands of pencils. And this shade's going to be great for up there as well. So don't go into the whisker area if you can help it. If you do go into it, it's not the end of the world. I think we're just going to need the cream again just to sort of build up that area, because I can still see the tooth on that. I'm just going very lightly over that part. And let's get some of that burnt umber in. So I really love the polychromos for for the detail on that. And again, it's with the pressure on this, it's kind of like I'm sort of just sliding it lightly over the surface there. And where are you? Let's just add a bit more of the 20% French grey. So with this, if you don't have that, then you can either use your very lightest grey or the ivory or cream, which one that you have. Just want to bring that in around there as well. I know we're not working on this part, but I'm just using this area as a guide for around there. And I can see that we need to make areas around here a bit darker, so that's what happens when you're building up a surrounding area, and then you can sort of just see that this bit needs to be dark. So we can do that once we begin work on that area. So for the moment, we're just working around here. Just go back in with that burnt umber. I'm only sort of working on the edge bit here. get some of that dark sepia in that part as well. And I'm just going from like right to left, left to right with this. Okay, right, let's carry on where we were. So 20% French grey. Just around here. And I'm going to use some of the brownish beige as well. And using the brownish beige on top of that French grey actually sort of lightens the brownish beige. What else? Oh yeah, let's use some of that nougat again. So what we're doing is we're just building up this little area to get texture and also to sort of make it a bit three-dimensional so it doesn't lay flat on the paper. Just very, very lightly here. Okay, let's bring some of that 20% French grey in again. And then I'm going to use that brownish beige, not brownish beige, sorry, burnt umber, slightly over the top of that to sort of gradually sort of bring out that darker area rather than it being sort of harsh lines there. If you're interested in these gloves, they're quite cheap, and you've got a bit on the side there, you know, you can sort of lean on without actually smudging artwork and that. So obviously I use glassine paper to rest on, but you know, if my hand sort of slips off of it at all, then I've got the backup of these gloves. And I also sort of tend to sort of wear them more when the weather's warm like it is at the moment, because my hands get extremely hot. Just want to make this dark sepia, just want to make this a bit more dark in the middle here. And also just a sort of, I can see some of the tooth still coming through in parts. I just want to build up around here just to sort of get that piece of fur sort of standing out, that lighter piece. And again, same pressure with this pencil as well. Let's just make that whisker area slightly thinner. Once we do go over that area, then the pencil will be really sharp when we go over there, to sort of makes it a lot more thinner. Okay, so you can see now where we're sort of building that up and blending that in, how that's sort of bringing that ear into that area. Okay, let's go in with the brownish beige a bit more. And let's go in with that burnt umber. And we're going to bring out that texture a bit more. Again, just keep going in as light, with light pressure as you can. So this is quite warm, and it's a lot brighter compared to the picture, so I'm just using this as an undersurface, and then I think with this part, let's stick with the dark sepia for the moment. So this part now is starting to get a lot darker. So we're just sort of building that up. And we've also got some of that lighter fur sort of coming through. Just keep looking at the shape of the head of the otter. If you think your pencil's feeling a bit scratchy on the surface, it could mean that we still need to build up this area. So I'm going to use the brownish beige. You can use a warm grey 2, warm grey 3, I think, on this area. Let's have a look. I think possibly more the, what's that one? That's cold grey, I thought so. I think more the warm grey 2. That one. Or if you're using Prismas, then you could use the French grey 20%. So you can see sort of just how many layers, you know, we need for pastel matte. I'd say it's, for me, it's one of my favourite surfaces, but I know a lot of people prefer like drafting film or hot pressed paper. So I know we've used a lot of pastel matte in the tutorials, so I'll sort of try and mix it up a bit, but I think with this one it really needed the pastel matte, this Otter. So this part needs to be darker than that area. Okay, so let's go in with that dark sepia again. Ooh. We're not doing sort of lines here, we're sort of colouring those areas to sort of make them more natural. It's going to sort of get lighter the further we get down to this part. I'm just sort of working in some of those smaller sort of darker areas. And these darker parts are just like the areas in between those strands of fur. So we're not actually drawing those strands of fur, we're actually using tonal values, contrast, just to sort of gives you that impression of those individual fur. So we don't ever sort of draw hundreds of strands of fur of like loads of lines, because that just makes it a lot more messy and not as realistic. Just darkening that area slightly. Okay. Right, so in between that then I'm gonna just very, very lightly go in with that brownish beige. And just gonna sharpen the Derwent Drawing Vista, because I just want to sort of see what we're going to get with that. But that's, you know, the colour that we may be missing out on. So I've got a it's a thicker core and it's a lot creamier. So I'm just going to use that a bit on there. And also wondering whether this is what we're missing out on with the highlights in between the darker areas of fur, rather than using cream or ivory. Definitely not a white because that's far too bright. Okay, let's just go in here. So with this we don't need, again, to press very hard with it. Yeah, I actually think this one, don't worry if you don't have a direct drawing, you really don't need it. Just continue with what you have available. If you did want to invest in a direct drawings, then you can buy those individually, and you can use the discount code that's in the platform. But it's not essential. I don't want you to sort of think you need to sort of go out of your way and having to buy these, because you don't. It's just the technique that I'm teaching you. So just, you know, I don't want you to think this is like an expensive hobby, because it just doesn't need to be. Just want to soften that down slightly, and then what we'll do is we'll go over that lightly in a moment as well. These are particularly great. I mean, they're not so great for like fine detail like the polychromos, but these are great for like layering up, because where they're thicker and softer, they fill in the tooth a lot quicker. But like I say, you don't need to rush out and get them. Okay, so that's that. I'm going to sharpen the dark sepia a bit more. Sharpening that much, that's fine. Still got a nice point on it, and I just want to just very lightly. And I'm also wondering whether it's time to sort of use the yeah, the warm grey 6. Where are you? Yeah, let's just sharpen that. So you can either use, if you ain't got a warm grey 6, you can stick with your darkest brown or whatever your darkest grey is. I always think when I'm trying to sort of find each one that they look very similar on the barrels and also on the lead as well. I'm just going to bring that in on the top there. They're very similar when you sort of layer them on top of other colours. So we're just sort of going over that a bit more. there, just sort of keep that like that. I think this needs to sort of build up slightly a bit more around here, and then we can move on around this area. Okay, so just need to sort of make sure that what's underneath this whisker sort of comes through there. We don't want to sort of make it look like two separate drawings, so I'm just sort of building this up slightly more, because I don't want it to look at, you know, I don't want it to look too flat or anything. Okay, right, let's just start building this up again. I'm going to use the sorry, I'm just having a little think. I'm going to try the 50% French grey. Just want to fill the tooth in a bit more, and also this needs sorting around here. I want to do a bit more with this part. So at the moment, just going lightly and just filling in that tooth, because it is quite grainy around here. And I want some of these, I want this to sort of look a bit more natural on this part too. So we've managed to sort of fill the tooth in a bit more around here when we were working on that area. Although, no, that's fine, because we've got to add some more brown in there anyway, so we can just build that up. So just keep sort of looking at the direction that fur is going in. So although we're building up the base layers a bit more, just to get rid of that tooth, we still need to, you know, we still need to go in the exact direction that fur is going in. Not sure why that bit's so light. Right, I'm just going to use that Bista Derwent drawing. So if you go with like I said, if you use an ivory, if you don't have this, an ivory or a cream will work fine. So I'm just working on the lighter areas, but then I also want to build up the dark that's surrounding it. And I can also see that in there as well. So I think around this eye needs sorting a bit more. When you know, when you're sort of balancing out colours after you've sort of added different areas, it's easy just to sort of keep seeing different things, but it's just finding that balance and not overworking it. And also there's also that risk of you don't want to make it too muddy. Right, so I've got that lighter part around the eye, and then I can see it around here as well. So we will be sort of adding some darker areas. I can just see a bit coming through there. Okay, I've managed to sort of tone this part down a bit more because I just think that was just standing out far too much. Although we can still see it, I don't think it's as vibrant as I had it, which is good. Okay. Right, so I'm going to use some greys. Yeah, I'm going to go through the range of the warm greys. So I'm going to start with that warm grey 3, but I can also see browns. It's alright, I'm just thinking out loud. Maybe the prismas, I think, for the moment, around this eye area. So I'm going to, let's go with that 50% warm grey. I'm going to sharpen it. Did I say warm grey, 50% French grey? Do you know what? It's not working on there. Let's grab the Faber-Castell sharpener. Okay, so let's just work on this part. And just around the eye there. This part is lighter anyway, but we have it ever so slight there. So although we've added sort of quite a few layers around here, we just need to sort of go very careful that, again, we don't overwork this. But I just think it just needed something else added. And I will use the polychromos in a bit with around here. Excuse me, I was about to sneeze there. So we've got a very dark area sort of coming in. That needs sorting out as well. Let's get that. Where is it? Dark sepia. Just want to bring that around there a bit more. Okay, so we've got that line sorted. Don't want to use that. Let's try the... Sorry, I just keep changing my mind here, don't I? Warm grey 6. Just very, very lightly through there. So we want to naturally, I'll stick with this one for the moment. We want to naturally sort of bring in those darker fur strands, just to sort of make this stand out a bit more. So by work, I know we're supposed to be working around here, but we need to make sure what's happening around it is working properly. And I just think some areas were just a bit too light and there was no oomph to it. Go in with some ivory or cream. This does need to be a lot lighter. I'm just going to sharpen this. It's not standing out enough for me, and I think it's that area that will begin to sort of help us with this area here. Sorry, I keep hitting the camera a lot today. Sorry about that. So I'm getting the darks in, but I'm not sort of getting those lights in enough. And I think that's where we need to sort of build that up. Just bringing that piece in there. Right. So I need to sort of get these tonal values correct so that what we've added underneath can sit right, and we need to make sure that this is sitting right on top of it. So I think that's what we need to be doing. Because I'm really happy with this part here, and we need to bring that, and also everything around here. It's just this, I think at the moment it's not letting it down as such, but I just think it needs a lot more work to it before we sort of move on anymore. So we've got that sort of comes down there, and this is the brow of the otter. But then we've also got this lighter bit sort of coming through here, which is where that brown's going to be. But I just think this part just needs building up a bit more. So we don't want to be sort of really adding loads of lights in blocks. We just need to sort of balance it in between some of those darker areas, and just to make it sort of a lot more natural. So we need to make our lights light and our darks dark around here. So I think this will be our job for next time round. Let's just zoom out. So next time we are going to be concentrating on this area to get it right, so that we can actually move in and carry on and with this part. and build this area up. But yeah, I think we're, you know, it's really going in the right direction. I think what we've done with this area has worked really well and has really brought this part out. This part will actually get finished once we do this area, so I just want to bring it all in together. But yeah, so next time this is the part that we're going to be working on, just to get it right, and then we'll carry on down. So I will see you in part 21.